Hello, everyone. This is Jill here to give the Purdue versus Wisconsin post-game recap back here in the studio. Finally back from some holiday traveling and stuff like that, so the next couple games should be from this spot. So thanks for being flexible with me while I was kind of away. Final score for this game was Purdue 89, Wisconsin 73. Wisconsin has notoriously been a tough matchup for us in the past few seasons. I think we've always had really close games that were decided by 10 points or less. So these games always make me a little nervous, especially when they're away. So my biggest concern going into this arena was make sure that it's a really competitive game and that we are showing our stuff on the offense and being really tough on defense like we have been in the past few games. Doesn't have to be a perfect game, but I think with conference season finally rolling around and a really tough Big Ten conference this year, it's important that we are ready to play game in and game out. Overall, I think we executed that game plan. We shot 46% from field and 37% from three. So good numbers to see. And I think the one area of concern I would say from a shooting perspective was we were below 70% from our free throws. So if we can clean that up a bit, get that more consistent, especially at away games, that's going to be really helpful. We were out rebounded this game 35-32. And while it's not a really big margin of being out rebounded, I think it is something we'll have to keep our eyes on for the conference season. It'll be interesting to see how we fare in the rest of the season. Like I said before, it's not that it's a major concern, but I think it's something to keep an eye on because I think when games get close and it's decided by a possession or two, it's going to be decided by who's grabbing the boards and who's, going for the ball. Another stat that you might look at would be points in the paint. That Wisconsin had more points in the paint than Purdue, which I think was a little surprising. They were able to drive into the basket a lot more, especially in the first half, than I expected. So just something to monitor as the season progresses. And hopefully we can maintain a really tough defensive edge that we've had these past few games, because that will be the deciding factor for us. All starting five had 10 points or more, which was great. And I think what will really decide how well we perform in the Big Ten is going to be how our bench players perform, especially at away arenas. While I kind of expect this level of, efficiency from our starting five, if we can get more contributions from our bench players in various ways, that's only going to help, broaden the spread between us and the opponents. I also think for the bench players, it's really great experience for them to get some solid minutes playing in a quote unquote hostile environment. So while you may not see their stats sheets look, phenomenal, I do think that Omer Meyer, Jack Benner, and Jakari Harris really did contribute to this team win, and shouldn't be overlooked just because they may not have scored more than 10 points. For player thoughts, the discussion doesn't start anywhere but Braden Smith finally achieving the all-time Big Ten assist record. He has 893 assists and counting. An amazing accolade for Braden. Been a long time coming, and so crazy that he's been able to reach it in a short amount of time. And just exciting to see where this goes for him. He also had more assists than the entire Wisconsin team combined, so always crazy to see that stat. He had 12 assists, Wisconsin had 7. And I think it's really fun to see how Braden kind of operates the offense and passes the ball to his teammates. And I think the expectation, not just from him, but from, fans and whatnot, would be that when someone gets the ball from Braden, they should shoot it just to hopefully help him get closer to that all-time assist record. Another key player that I like to highlight is Fletcher Loyer. He had 20 points this game, shot 40% from the field and from three. And it's just nice to see him get a little bit more comfortable with his shooting. It's hard to think that he would ever shoot poorly because we know him as our sharpshooter and one of the best shooters in the country. But I think one thing that they've talked about during preseason and during summer workouts was that when Fletcher gets the ball, he should shoot it more. And he's always been very meticulous in past seasons about how he shoots and when. So seeing this difference in how many threes he actually shoots is, I think, a big difference compared to what it was last season or the season before. So while it seems like he may not be shooting very well. He's still shooting 40%. So he's just shooting more than he has in the past, which may appear that he's not doing as well as he used to. He was 4 for 10 from 3. He's definitely shooting it a lot more, which I think as the season progresses, that's something we want to see from him, to shoot more, to be confident, and to really look for a shot. CJ Cox was also a great contributor to this game. He had 14 points in this game, but also he was a great defender once again from perimeter. John Blackwell was one of their best shooters for Wisconsin. I think he had 3 games where he scored 30 points or more, and he was held to 9 points this game. The Bigs seemed to have some quieter first halves from what I recall, but then in the second half, they were able to end the game with 10 points or more, which is always nice to have. The big story was going to be, as the season progresses, how well can we defend the basket and protect the paint. So looking forward to seeing how we match up against some of these teams as we move forward. I think that's pretty much it from my perspective. Again, an enjoyable game to watch. From my perspective, I really like it when the team is doing well and they're shooting well and keeping the opponent at a distance. That makes it a little bit easier for me to watch and enjoy. But, next up we do have Washington back in Mackey Arena on Wednesday, January 7th. So that should be a fun one to hang out at Mackey Arena for. That's pretty much it for this one. Thank you so much for watching this, and I will see you in the next one.